the new anchor. The Taliban promised safe passage for Americans and Afghans trying to flee the country. Here are pictures reportedly of an Afghan shot by the Taliban trying to get to the airport. The list goes on and on. So while the Taliban 2.0 appears to be just as brutal, unlike the Taliban of the 1990s, they have access to the world's most advanced weapon systems that have been supplied by the United States. Brett VELICOVICH served in the Army's elite Delta Force, Special Operations, also an intelligence specialist who served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, joins us now. Brett, of all of the weapons that the Taliban has captured from the Afghan army, supplied by the United States, what scares you the most?
Well, good evening, Leland. I think what really scares me the most is a lot of the larger weapons that they've captured, and things like drone technology and helicopters and some of these more heavy weapon systems that allows them to have a technology that normally the U.S. government wouldn't have let fall into their hands. But because of the ineptitude of the Biden administration not owning this failure and not setting the stages to be able to destroy a lot of those weapons before the folks got out of the country, it's now fallen into the enemy's hands. And my main concern, especially with a lot of these images that we're seeing of these weapons caches and the Taliban out there displaying these different sites that have everything from small arms weapons to some of these larger vehicles that they're driving around, is really what we're not seeing behind the scenes. Because, you know, the Taliban propaganda, they're in full strength right now, and they're really only letting reporters see what they want to. And I think those videos, they tell a different story. It's not just these weapons that I'm seeing in these videos, it's lives lost. And some of these videos we're seeing special operations, special forces equipment. I'm seeing sensors and weapons that we gave the Afghan special operations units that are left behind. And that tells me that probably a lot of these people were killed. The Taliban didn't just stumble upon these weapons laying out there. I know how these guys operated. They would have taken a lot of that stuff home. But unfortunately, I think that they brutally massacred a lot of these Afghan soft special operations units that were trained, and then took their weapons and are displaying them as if they just found them, left behind.
We've seen a lot of video a couple of weeks ago of the Taliban slaughtering Afghan special operations folks, probably some of the same people you worked with. This is video of a number of the vehicles they've captured. It looks like an American Army depot. It is now the Taliban Army depot. There's still 6,000 American troops now on the ground in Kabul trying to get people out. If these weapons are turned against them, does it suddenly become an equal fight, whereas before it was an unequal fight between America and the Taliban?
It's definitely very dangerous. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily going to start using those weapons right away against American forces. I see a larger issue of them potentially selling a lot of that technology to other countries that want to get their hands on drone technology, like China, who doesn't have that capability, or Russia, or the Iranians that are in there. I see the potential of the Taliban actually selling a lot of those weapons. But, the fact that we've got these Americans that are remaining there, it's just disheartening. I worry about the retribution against those diplomats that are still out there. I worry about the retribution against interpreters and former folks that I used to work with that are trying to get out. And we've just lost this credibility now on the world stage. And this Taliban, when they're showing these weapons, this whole thing has just elevated their status around the world as a result. And it sends a message to other terrorist groups that, that if you fight long and hard enough, the U.S. is just going to turn and walk away. And I think the Taliban has now become sort of this de facto terrorism industry standard, because the Biden administration clearly didn't put in the right contingency plans to get these guys out. And we're going to continue to see folks stranded and left behind. And a lot of these people can't get out, and their blood's going to be on Biden's hands if it continues.
There's already a lot of blood being shed in the streets of Afghanistan. Brett, thank you. Your perspective's always really appreciated.
Thank you, Leland.
All right. Up next, did the Biden administration ignore its own intelligence officials? What we're learning from counterterrorism experts as the crisis in Afghanistan continues. Plus, President Biden on defense and not apologizing in a new interview about his decision to pull out of Afghanistan.